Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of the Middle Georgia Spotlight. I'm your host, Jack Ellis. We're glad to have you with us again this week. We always like to thank our sponsors, Caduceus Medicine and J. Franklin Automotives, making this possible, as well as the good people here at WMUB, Mercer Channel 38. Normally, I say that the views expressed here on this program, not necessarily those of Mercer University or this station, but today I can't say that because we have as our guest today the president of Mercer University, Mr. Bill Underwood, or Attorney Bill Underwood. I always want to call him Dr. Bill Underwood because most presidents of universities are doctor, but he's not. Thank you, Mr. President, and good to see you again.
A lot of us today are lawyers.
Yeah.
It's good to be here with you, Mr. Mayor.
I appreciate it. Mr. President, you have honored us. This is the second time. When I started the show about a year and a half ago, I think you were my second guest. The first one was the superintendent of schools, and Curtis Jones, you were the second one. And I'd like to ask you a question that Mayor Couch used to ask every morning when he would emerge from his office. They said he would always ask, how am I doing? Well, I'm not going to ask you that question. I'm going to ask you, how are we doing? I say we because Mercer University is an integral part of this city. So how are we doing?
I think we have lots of great people doing really important work, and I'm proud of them, and every day I get up grateful to be able to work with such great colleagues. They're doing amazing work in changing the lives of students, in providing students really life-changing learning experiences. Students who go to Vietnam and fit landmine victims with cutting-edge prosthetics developed in our laboratories, or students who go to South America and Africa and work on mercury contamination in small-scale gold mining communities, a problem that affects 2 million people a year. Those kinds of experiences that call for students to combine the research they're doing at the university with a heart for serving the needs of other people. And I think Mercer does that better than anyone, and it's exciting for me just to be a small part of it.
Well, I understand this is a Christian university. Well, not a Christian university, but has its founded in Christianity. And in the Bible it says that charity starts at home and spreads abroad. So you talk about what you're doing at home, but doing abroad, but so much is happening here locally that Mercer's involved in. And you said earlier before we went on air, I'm going to let out a little secret. He said he had a hole in the bottom of his shoes, and they need to have. But why? Because you're on the move all the time. You're doing, you're doing so much work. When are you going to slow down? When I say you, of course, you and Mercer are inseparable, as so is this community. With the building that's going on, the Capricorn, the studio coming online shortly, the many apartments that's been built and the houses and so forth and so on. What's next for Mercer?
Well, I don't know for sure what's next, but I do know that once again I'm proud of a lot of things that are going on here. I think, you mentioned that Curtis Jones was your first guest. I think he's doing an amazing job as superintendent of schools, and it goes beyond winning awards and that sort of thing. I see him working every day to continue building a quality educational system for young people in this community that will create opportunity for them. We're proud to partner with him and the United Way on the Read to Succeed program. That's designed to ensure that every student in this school district by the end of third grade is reading at grade level, because we know if we do that, they've got a fighting chance for a bright future. So I'm pleased to be a part of those kinds of things.
Well, one would say a president of a university, a great university like Mercer, 4 or 5 campuses, but yet you're talking about secondary and primary education. Why is that so important as a community to all of us that we need to focus on primary education? We all know why education is so important, but for the president of the university to throw resources, what are you looking at down the road here?
Well, I think it's obvious that if our young people aren't finishing high school, then we're squandering talent in this community. In fact, we're squandering the most valuable resource we have, which is our human resource. And as I see it, every single one of these young people that doesn't finish high school is a wasted opportunity for this community. And obviously, if they're not finishing high school, then they're not coming on to higher education as well. But I think the single most important challenge this community has is raising the level of educational attainment of kids in the K through 12 public school system in Macon, Georgia.
And you and Mercer University committed to helping make that happen.
Whatever we can do. Dr. Jones and I entered into an agreement earlier this year with some encouragement from President Carter, where we're taking students who have degrees in the sciences or mathematics or engineering, and we're making it possible for them to earn a Master of the Art of Teaching degree, which prepares them to go from being a chemist to a school teacher and teaching chemistry in our high schools. That's a pressing need for our school system, is highly qualified teachers in the STEM disciplines. And Dr. Jones and I are partnering to see that we're preparing the kinds of teachers that he needs for his system. He's providing them opportunities in their classrooms, and we're providing them free tuition in that program in exchange for their commitment to teach in our local schools when they graduate. And you know, I think that's a big deal.
That is a big deal. I haven't heard about it. Yeah. Free tuition?
Free tuition for students
who are teaching,
who are in this Master of Art of Teaching program, who will agree to teach in our Bibb County schools when they finish.
Well, that's very innovative, and obviously to the people who will take advantage of that, it's a big deal. I'm getting education and giving back at the same time.
So they're getting free tuition from us, they're getting teaching opportunities in the schools from Dr. Jones, and they're also getting a stipend while they're doing it from the schools district to support them while they're getting that master's degree.
That's just outstanding. Mr. President, we talked about the bricks and mortar. We all see that, the glitter. We even look at some of the, I like to have this background in my show. We see all the things that's going on the bridge and so forth. But at the bottom, the core of this is an education institution to train young minds. Last year, you gave me some numbers when you were here, how you've gone. Now you're in the beginning of a new year, school year that is. Have you seen an increase in enrollment? Are we about the same? Have we added any new programs going forward this year?
We're full.
You're full.
We're full.
And what is that?
That means
at capacity.
That means we are at capacity. We took the largest freshman class in our history last year. It was larger than we were anticipating. It was larger than we were planning for. This year, we took the second largest freshman class in our history. 2 years ago, we took the third largest freshman class in our history. So the last 3 years have been our three largest classes, and we are full.
Now, in addition to your undergrad, you've also expanded your medical school. I understand that you have another, either Savannah or Columbus. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, the medical school began here in Macon, and this has been our home and our base of operations. But 10 years ago, we opened a second full campus in Savannah, and that campus's purpose was to double our capacity to prepare physicians for rural and underserved areas in the state. And we've recently announced a third campus in Columbus, and that campus is designed to add another 50% to our capacity to prepare physicians, primary care physicians, for rural and underserved areas in our state. The most underserved area in Georgia is southwest Georgia. And so that medical school's primary purpose is going to be to prepare physicians for that terribly underserved region of the state. We've begun opening rural medicine clinics. Our first was in Plains, Georgia, President Carter's hometown. And the idea is to improve access to health care for people living in rural areas. And we're about to announce our second and third rural medicine clinics. My hope is that one day Mercer will operate 20 or 25 of these rural medicine clinics in underserved areas around the state for the purpose of improving access to health care for folks in those areas.
You know, Mercer's a small school compared to University of Georgia in Georgia State. I guess University of Georgia has a medical school in Augusta, I guess.
Right.
So, but you...
Don't tell the people at Augusta University that it's the University of Georgia.
Oh, it's not?
Because they'll tell you it's theirs, and they're right.
My point is that you seem to be on the lead, at the tip of the spear on this with such a... Obviously, the state has more resources than you. Not saying you don't have adequate resources, but why is it so important that Mercer be out front on this medical and providing doctors in underserved areas in the state of Georgia?
We're a very mission-driven institution, and this was the founding mission of the School of Medicine when it was launched in 1982. Our current dean, Jean Sumner, grew up in a rural community. Her father was a country doctor. She came to our medical school in the first class, and when she graduated, she became a country doctor. And there's nobody that cares more about rural health care than the dean of our medical school. It's her life story. And she wakes up every day thinking of ways that we can do a better job of improving access to health care for people in rural areas. I'll give you an example of something that she's doing with the aid of her faculty. Georgia ranks 50th among 50 states in maternal mortality rates.
My. 50 among 50?
50 states. Georgia is the most dangerous place in the United States for a woman to give birth to a child. And the problem is especially acute in rural areas of the state. And in those areas of the state, it's especially acute among African American mothers. 50th of 50 states. So we've started a program in southeast Georgia, 7 counties in southeast Georgia. In those 7 counties, the maternal mortality rates are worse than they are in North Korea, worse than they are in Syria. And the program is to develop a system where we can dramatically improve our maternal mortality rates so that one day, in addition to saying Georgia's the best place in the country to do business, maybe one day we can say it's the best place in the country to give birth to a child. Jean's passionate, Jean Sumner is passionate about rural health care. And when you think about the needs of people in these areas, it's something that we all ought to be passionate about.
I know you steer, you move within the political circles, but you have to work with Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and everything in between. But would you impress upon this, with those type of statistics, would you call upon the current administration in Atlanta and the legislature to expand Medicaid so that we could probably deal with some of these problems dealing with poor people in health?
I'll tell you what I will do. I do try to stay out of politics because I need to be able to work effectively with people regardless of their political persuasion. I will tell you that people on both sides of the political aisle are concerned about this issue and are concerned generally about access to quality health care in rural parts of this state. And I think you're going to see even stronger commitment to doing something about maternal mortality rates, certainly, but I think the whole broader issue of how we provide access to health care for the people who, after all, raise our food, put food on our plates.
Well, as they say, all work and no play makes us very dull. And you have a very active athletic program here, speaking of play. Since you've been here, you brought football on. We have an outstanding basketball program, beat Duke. We can talk a little bit about that. And how has that elevated the profile, if you will as students wanting to come here because they can have a team to root for now? Is that important?
It is important. I think in our culture, sports does more to build community than anything else we can do. You know, we fight about politics all day, we fight about this, we fight about that, but on Saturday afternoon at a college football game, we can all come together for that 2 or 3 hours and pull for the same thing. And I think it's very important when you're trying to build community to have opportunities for people to come together and pull in the same direction for something, even if it's only a few hours every week. And that's what I like about sports more than anything. I mean, I can see two politicians who don't agree on anything sitting next to each other at a basketball game, and
Pulling for the same team.
and they're pulling for the same thing, and they're getting along, even if it's just for those 2 or 3 hours. And I think that's helpful.
Yeah, and it's important. But athletics, of course, people got rid of football programs before because they said they were too costly and they didn't add. But you brought one back I think was it during the recession? It was after the recession. After the Great Recession.
Yeah.
But anyway, you brought one back, and so has it been able to sustain itself financially, or is it taking money from academics? Is it taken away from anything else that you want to do, or is it worth the investment, period?
I think if you look at it broadly, it more than pays for itself. And I think it is worth the investment. Now, would I like to win every game? Yeah, I'd like to win every game. Maybe we will this year. We're 2-0, and we've got an important game on Saturday. I hope I see you there.
Who are they playing?
And we're playing Austin P University from the Ohio Valley Conference.
From Nashville.
From outside of
No,
Nashville.
not Nashville, Clarksville.
Clarksville, yeah, you know.
I used to be
this school.
stationed at Fort Campbell, which is right outside of the gate, Austin P University.
So that's a really important game for us, and I'm pulling for the Bears to go undefeated this year. I think that's possible.
Well, I've been out of town, so you have to bring me. So you all are 2-0.
We're 2-0. Yes.
Okay.
We won our first game 49-27.
Was it a cupcake? They used to say in the beginning of the season.
Oh no, it was one of our Southern Conference rivals. We opened with a conference game up at Western Carolina University.
Oh, right.
And the next game we won 45-7. So we're off to a great start. There's a lot of talent on this team. I think people will find it exciting and fun to come out and cheer for these Bears. And I hope you'll lead the way.
I will be there definitely on Saturday, and I'm going to bring my grandson.
Good.
He loves football. But I want to get away from sports, but I want to say this. The model that you are looking at when you brought this, because you don't give big scholarships like some of the other universities, but yet you're trying to get talented players. Is your model is more like Army, or more like Duke, more like what? That we know you're a student athlete first, but these guys want to play on TV. They want to. So how big of a problem is for recruiting athletes to come to a university like Mercer, very high academic standards and all of that?
Well, we do give big scholarships. Our scholarships are bigger than the state schools because we're more expensive. So a scholarship's worth more here.
So your athletes are on scholarship?
Oh, yes.
I thought at first they were on just, maybe that's when you first started. Okay.
Our first year, but we've moved to scholarship football our second year.
It'd be hard to do it without it, I guess, to recruit.
It'd be hard to do it. You remember the year before last, we played both Auburn and Alabama in the same year. That'd be pretty tough to do without scholarships.
And we'll get away from sports, but I read while I was away that one of your, used to be in your conference, when it was a Trans-American, whatever it was, Georgia State beat Tennessee. so it's possible, and you all beat Duke, so it's possible for the little guys to knock off the Goliaths occasionally, I guess.
We expect to. They interviewed me after that Duke game on national radio, and they said, "You must be just really surprised by this outcome." And I said, "Absolutely not. We expected to win this game." I said, we talked about it before the game. We thought it was a good matchup. We expected to win, and the young men expected to win too. And
you said that with a straight face, and you meant that.
And I meant it.
Yes.
I mean, we almost beat Auburn 2 years ago in the fourth year of having a program. So yeah, we expect to win those games.
See, Las Vegas better would have said, this guy's lost his mind, put some money here. But back to the academics of the university and what the university means to this entire town. You are downtown now. You didn't have to do the Capricorn studio. You didn't have to build lofts downtown, but you saw a need to do that. And what were you thinking? And how does it benefit the university? I know how it benefits the community, but how does it benefit the university? Shall we say, if it benefits the university, it benefits Mercer. If it benefits Mercer, it benefits the university.
Well, I do think it is absolutely the case that if something's good for Macon, it's good for Mercer. And reviving the great music heritage of Middle Georgia is good for this community. Developing young artists in this community, something we've done for decades in Middle Georgia, and helping revive our programs for developing young musical talent is great for Macon. You think about the great music that's come out of this community, going back to artists like Blind Willie McTell, who aren't famous, but they were great artists and they were pioneers. And then Little Richard and Otis Redding and James Brown developed here in Macon, and the Allman Brothers, and all of these great artists developed here in Macon and are continuing to develop here. So what we're trying to do at the Capricorn Studio is to provide a venue that will inspire and help this community develop young talent. And we think that'll create energy and vibrancy in the community that will make this an even better place to live.
You know, Macon has, I don't know whether it's a bad rap, whether it's a justified rap, but that it's a crime-ridden city, that it's a city that's not moving forward, the population is stagnant. You as a thought leader in this community, how does that affect your recruitment, number one, and how does that affect the overall development of our city if we can't change that perception if it's not true? And if it's true, what would you recommend as a, like I said, as a thought leader, not a political leader, as to what we have to do to change the perception and where we're headed?
Well, I think first we have to tell the positive story of Macon, and there's a heck of a positive story to tell about this community. I think this is a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family. But as we're telling the positive story about Macon, I think we have to be addressing the same kinds of challenges that every urban area in the United States faces. We have to address K through 12 educational achievement, and I think we're making great headway today in doing that. I think we do have to address crime, as does every urban area in the United States, and I think the most effective way long-term to address crime is to address educational achievement. I think if we create opportunity for young people, and young people can see a path to a better life, they're less likely to be involved in criminal activity. So I think telling the positive stories of our community while you're addressing the challenges we face is it's a long-term endeavor, and I think you do the two at the same time.
So you've been here about 15 years now, right?
14 years.
14
yes.
years. How much more gas you have left in the tank?
Well, I don't know.
You've been at a real breakneck speed here.
I don't know. If you see me slow down, would you tell me?
Okay, I would look at the bottom of your shoes. If you don't have holes in your shoes, I know you slowed down, that you're not moving as fast as you.
Well, I was a kid when they brought me here.
Well, you look the same, though.
That's not true, but yes,
well,
thank
you do. I
you.
remember I was in office and worked with you on several projects, which brings me to my next question. You know, Bill's Hill project, Mercer's been integrally involved in that one, even your predecessor, Dr. Gatti, and you came right in and picked up the mantle. But now we on this side of the interstate is across there. Are we going across the interstate? Are we going to continue to move with that type of community development with Mercer, not at the helm, but definitely joined at the hips with the community to do this community development?
I'm proud of the work that's been done in Bells Hill. You and my predecessor, Kirby Godsey, began that work, and I'm proud of the way that neighborhood's been revitalized. And I think that model can work in other neighborhoods. I think it will work in other neighborhoods, and we're in the process of deciding where we move next with that model after Bells Hill is completed. And I think we'll be ready to move into the next neighborhood in the next year or two. And certainly there are a number of good prospects.
Now,
You've advocated for
yes,
it.
I'm advocating for I'm advocating across down Mount Pelee and down Napier, and the linkage between Mercer University and the Central High School complex and those areas there, Miller complex, I think is very important, because it is what was the quote unquote heart and soul of middle class Macon back in the day, albeit it was white middle class Macon, but it was that which means now that the better infrastructure is there, fortunate, the better infrastructure, the sewers, and so forth and so on. You will find that better there, you have more to start with working as opposed to some of the other areas that didn't have the good infrastructure. So that's why
Yeah, there's a lot of potential in that area, and really a lot of good things going on already in that neighborhood. There's plenty of nice homes that are owner-occupied homes by people who take great pride in their homes and work hard to maintain them. And I think that's an area where further investment would be really beneficial to the neighborhood. So it's certainly something to think about.
We have about 2 minutes left, Mr. President. We're on several cable systems in the middle Georgia area. Cox is the biggest, and then we're on Warner Robins and Reynolds. So you're viewed, I would hope, by many people, and I appreciate you all watching. But what would you say to people not necessarily haven't been on Mercer's campus, they haven't driven down Mercer University because you changed your address from Coleman to Mercer University?
Right.
What would you say to them about coming and take a look at what you're doing here? What would you say?
I'd tell them that they're welcome. We'd love to have them visit us. We'd love to have them participate in theater programs, in music programs, in athletics programs. Those are all offered as a community benefit, and I'd invite them to come and take advantage.
But you don't just wear the university hat. We got a minute. You wear the hat of the president of Newtown Macon, the chairman, I guess, president, chairman, whatever it is, the head.
Of the board.
The board. The
Josh
chairman.
Rogers is the president.
Well, the chairman
Josh
of the board.
Rogers runs it.
Yeah, the chairman of the board. But so you are out there for that. So in addition to the university, so you're looking at this is a community-wide project, and you are committed to the long haul.
That's true. I think that the ongoing revitalization of downtown is very important to this community. I think that if your core is rotten, it's pretty hard to build a community.
Yeah. Cities die from the outside in. That's how they rebuild. We've been talking with Mr. Attorney Bill Underwood, who's the president of Mercer University. And one thing I like to say that what gave me most pride when I was the mayor was to give those 15 scholarships every year. I have to, because of Mercer University's medical school, that was the trade-off.
Right.
That we gave 15, maybe it's even more now for the county and city combined, but the city used to have 15 scholarships, and a lot of young people in this city would have never had an opportunity to attend university or any college or university without those 15 scholarships. I'm glad you keep them in place, and congratulations for all the things that you're doing, and keep up the good work, and we're here to help you in any way we can.
Well, congratulations on this show. I think we need more of this kind of programming in our community, so thank you for doing it.
Thank you, sir. We've been talking with Bill Underwood, who is the president of Mercer University here in Macon, Georgia. Here, like he said, the campus is open, even though you might have to go through a couple gates to get in, but you can walk in. It's not restricted for the entire community. He wants people to know what's going on here, and a lot of great things are going on at Mercer University, and a lot of great things are going on in Macon. And we thank you all for joining us. Until next week, I'm your host, Jack Ellis. Goodbye.